I'm Mark McAllister at Yonge and Queen, just outside the Queen subway station. This is going to be a point in the middle of the brand new transit map that was announced by the Ford government yesterday. This, in fact, would be part of the new Ontario line, going directly underneath Queen Street and underneath the existing subway line. But guess what's going to be where I'm standing? A big hole. And there's going to be a lot of big holes along this very route, and that's what it takes to put a new transit line together. Shovels in the ground. It's a term heard time and time again, with promises of construction set to begin. What happens, though, when digging begins to make all the lines on a new transit map a reality?
Anywhere there's a basement, you have to make sure that you go underneath it or not through it. There can be utilities that run in the ground, so our water pipes, sometimes our communications, they all run through the ground. And nowadays, when we build underground, we keep the water on and we keep the electricity on. The way the new Ontario line has been mapped out, many of the stations would actually intersect with other transit lines. An underground stop is already being constructed for the Eglinton Crosstown at the Science Centre. Pape Station on Line 2, Gerrard and East Harbour cross GO Transit routes as well. Then the downtown stops. Take a closer look at the density surrounding Queen and Osgoode. To build another line and platforms underneath the existing subway requires a lot of digging and disruption. What we're talking about is building a hole underneath an operating train, and that's technically very hard. It's an expertise that we have in Canada and that people know how to do all around the world, but you don't want it to move that much. You have to be able to take the shaking of the train going on. You need it to be safe for all of the people continuing to use the system.
We're actually underpinning the Line 1 tunnel with giant steel beams and concrete columns.
The work being done at Yonge and Eglinton for the Crosstown LRT, for example, involves digging 6 stories down on the footprint of 2 hockey rinks.
You build it like you would build a building, but you do it underground.
The disruption on the surface, though, can be chaotic, with traffic diversions, closed crosswalks, in order to make way for something new.
If you need to build underneath a street, it is easier than building underneath a group of buildings to make a really big hole. Now let's give you some of that context again. We talked about it yesterday, but picture all of that. We've got 15 kilometers. That's just the new Ontario line alone, and it's being promised by 2027, 8 years from now. So you can only imagine what the city is going to go through as a result.